I want to start with what I know for certain, because there are people who will listen to what I am about to say and immediately start looking for the places where I might be wrong, where I might be misremembering, where grief might be doing the work that evidence is supposed to do. I understand that impulse. I have had it myself. So I am going to start with what I know for certain, and I am going to be very clear about the line between what I know and what I believe, and I am going to let you draw your own conclusions. What I know for certain is this. My son went into the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness in August of 2019, alone, on a route he had done twice before. He was 29 years old. He was an experienced wilderness canoeist. He had his permits, his gear, his float plan. He was due back on a Thursday. On Friday morning, when he had not contacted me, I called the Forest Service. The search lasted 9 days. They found his canoe, intact, pulled up on shore at a campsite on Knife Lake. They found his gear, packed and organized, as if he had intended to return to it. They found his journal, in a dry bag, in the canoe. They did not find him. He has never been found. His name was Marcus Webb. He was my only child. I am telling you this because what is in the journal matters, and the journal matters more if you understand what it costs to read it. His name was Marcus. I am going to tell you about him for a moment, because he deserves to be known as a person before he becomes a story. He was 29 years old. He had his father's eyes and my stubbornness, which is saying something, because I am a very stubborn woman. He worked as a hydrologist for the state of Minnesota, which meant he spent a significant portion of his professional life in or near water, which suited him, because water was where he had always wanted to be. He had been canoeing the Boundary Waters since he was 11 years old. His father had taken him, and then his father had left, and Marcus had kept going, because the Boundary Waters were the Boundary Waters, regardless of what else was happening. He knew that country. 1.2 million acres of lake and portage and old-growth forest on the Canadian border, where motors are prohibited and the water is cold enough in August to take your breath away, and the loons call at dusk in a way that makes you understand why people have always told stories about these lakes. He knew it. He loved it. He went back every summer. In August of 2019, he went back for the last time. And in the journal they found, in the dry bag in the canoe, he had written something that I have spent 4 years trying to understand. The journal covers 8 days. The first 4 days are ordinary. Portages, campsites, weather, fish caught and released. The kind of notes a careful person makes when they want to remember something accurately. He writes about the light on the water. He writes about a family of mergansers he followed for an afternoon. He writes about a thunderstorm that came through fast on the 3rd night, and the sound it made on the tent, which he describes as the most satisfying sound in the world. He was happy. I need you to know that. He was happy in that journal. Content, in the specific way that people are content when they are exactly where they want to be, doing exactly what they want to be doing. The 5th day entry is different. Not alarmed, not frightened. Different. He writes, "Something has been following me since this morning." Or not following. That is not quite right. Paralleling. Moving along the shore at roughly my pace, staying in the tree line. I first noticed it around the 2nd portage into Knife Lake. I thought it was a bear at first. It is not a bear. He writes, I have been a hydrologist for 6 years. I spend a lot of time in the field. I know what a bear looks like moving through brush. This is not that movement. This is upright, and it covers ground differently than a bear, and it is large, very large. I can hear it when the wind is right, not crashing, not clumsy. Careful, deliberate movement. He writes, I am not afraid. I want to note that because it seems significant. I am not afraid. I am, if I am honest, curious. And there is something about the paralleling that does not feel threatening. It is not closing the distance. It is staying at the same distance, roughly, as if it has assessed a comfortable range and is maintaining it. He keeps paddling. He makes camp on Knife Lake. He makes supper. He writes, before going to sleep, it is still there. I can hear it in the tree line above camp. Not moving, just present. I left some food at the edge of the site, not to feed it. I know better than to feed wildlife, just because it seemed like the right gesture. I cannot explain that more than that. It seemed like the right gesture. The 6th day entry is the one I have read the most. He writes, it was there this morning when I woke up, still in the tree line. I made coffee and sat by the water, and I talked to it. Out loud. I am aware of how that sounds. I talked to it because I needed to talk to something. And because, I think, it has been listening to me anyway, whatever listening means in this context, and it seemed more honest to do it deliberately. He writes, I told it about Mom. I told it about the boundary waters, and why I come here, and what it means to me. I told it about my job, and what I think about water, which is a lot. And for a long time, I told it that I was not going to tell anyone about it, because I did not think it was my story to tell. And then I thought about that, and I said, I might tell my mother. She would understand. She has always understood things other people don't. I read that sentence 4 times the first time I read the journal. He said he might tell me. He was going to tell me. He writes, it made a sound this morning, after I'd been talking for a while. Low. Once. Brief. I do not know what it meant. But I said, I hear you, because I did. The 7th day entry is shorter. He writes, still here. We have settled into something, a rhythm. I paddle. It moves along the shore. I camp. It stays in the tree line. This morning I found something on the flat rock at the edge of the water where I'd been sitting. A stone. Dark, smooth, from somewhere deep, not from this lakeshore. He writes, I have been trying to figure out how to feel about this. It is a gift. I do not know what else to call it. Something left me a gift. Something that has been watching me for 3 days and has assessed me in whatever way it assesses things and has decided I was worth a gift. I put it in my pocket. I am going to bring it home. The 8th day entry is the last. It is also the shortest. It says, going higher today. It has been showing me something, I think, in the way it has been moving. Not following anymore. Leading. I know this is the kind of sentence that sounds like the beginning of a very bad decision. I want to be clear that I am not being reckless. I have my gear. I have my float plan. I am leaving this journal in the dry bag in case I am longer than expected. And then, below that, in letters that are slightly larger than his usual handwriting, Mom, if you read this, I am okay. I chose. The same way you always taught me to choose things, with both eyes open, knowing what I was doing. I love you. Tell the Mergansers I said goodbye. That is the last thing he wrote. They found the journal on a Friday. They called me on a Friday. A ranger drove to my house in Duluth and sat at my kitchen table and told me what they had found, and what they had not found, and what the next steps of the search would be. I listened. I said, "Can I see the journal?" He said, "Eventually." "It is evidence for now," I said. "Evidence of what?" He did not have a good answer for that. The journal came to me 8 weeks later, in a plastic evidence bag, with a form to sign. I sat at the same kitchen table, and I read it. And when I was done reading it, I sat there for a long time. And then I reached into the evidence bag, because there had been other things in the dry bag besides the journal. Small things. A compass, a lighter, a folded piece of paper with the Portage route marked on it, and a stone, dark, smooth, from somewhere deep, not from any lakeshore I can identify. He had kept it. He had not left it at the campsite. He had put it in the dry bag, with the journal, with the things he wanted to make sure survived if he didn't. He wanted me to have it. He said he was going to tell me. He did tell me. In the only way he could, from where he went. I have been to the Boundary Waters 3 times since. I'm not a canoeist. I'm 61 years old, and I have a bad knee, and I'm not the kind of person who goes to the Boundary Waters alone. But I have gone, with a guide the first time, alone in a day canoe the second time, staying close to the put-in. And last August, the 4th anniversary, I hired a guide again and went to Knife Lake. I went to the campsite. I sat on the flat rock at the edge of the water. I talked, out loud, the way Marcus talked. I told it about Marcus, about what he was like, about the mergansers, about his father, and my stubbornness, and his father's eyes, about the hydrologist job, and what he thought about water. I talked for a long time. The tree line was quiet. The lake was very still. And then, from somewhere above the campsite, from somewhere in the old growth above the ridgeline, a sound, low, long. Once, I sat very still. I said, "I hear you," because I did, and because Marcus said those words, and they were the right words, and they are still the right words, and because, sitting on that rock, on Knife Lake, in the Boundary Waters, on the 4th anniversary of the last day anyone saw my son, I did not feel alone. I felt, for the first time in 4 years, that he was not entirely gone. That somewhere in the 1.2 million acres of lake and portage and old-growth forest, in the country he loved more than anywhere else, something had known him, and knows him still. In whatever way ancient things know the people who come into their country with open eyes and honest hearts, and both eyes open, the way his mother taught him. I am not going to tell you he is alive. I am not going to tell you he is safe. I do not know those things. What I know is what I know for certain. He went in. He found something. He chose. And he left me a stone and a message. And the mergansers, I am told by the guide who takes me, are still on Knife Lake, every summer. The same family, or the family of the family, going about their business, the way the lake goes about its business, the way everything in that country goes about its business, patient and old, and entirely itself. The way Marcus, at 29 years old, was beginning to understand. I am glad he got to understand it, even if the understanding took him somewhere I cannot follow. I am his mother. I am glad he got to understand something that large and that true before he was done. That is all I am going to say. That is enough.